Ishwaram, as resplendent sun. It's the start of a bright new day. Time to rise, time to shine, Lord divine. Time to lead us along life's way. Awake, Lord of Buddha party. Awake, O Lord, over all mankind. Awake, O Lord of compassion, that the world good fortune may find. On Chitravati's peaceful shore stands our heart's own mansion. We yearn to serve you, and we long for your holy darshan. Morning's begun, and o'er the world spreads the radiant sun.
I'd like to remind everyone to sign up for one of the study circles on the tables just outside the door. Those will be tomorrow afternoon. And I'll say a little bit more about Dr. Fanibunda. As we mentioned earlier, he's a dentist, dental surgeon, photographer, author, musician, magician, and public speaker. The kind of person we'd all like to be if we had the time. He met Baba in 1971, and 2 years later, Baba asked him to speak at the summer course for the students. And taking advantage of his background in dentistry, the topic Baba gave him was extraction of the ego tooth. Baba personally asked him to come here and speak to us, so it's Baba's special grace that he will now give us the Blueprint for Practical Spirituality, Part 2.
Sai-Ram. We'll very briefly recapitulate what we did this morning. We started off with the examination of the internal administration of man, where we discussed the Atma, which is in man, and we live within the Atma, how the Atmic energy, 90% of it, flows to the intelligence, buddhi, and how the intelligence, which is like a mirror, directs it through the mind into the body, and how this Atmic energy gets diluted, both quantitatively and qualitatively, by the time it reaches the senses. Here we discussed the aspect of the Atma associated with Atma, that is the Atma itself, which is known as consciousness. When this consciousness gets associated with the mind, it is known as conscience, and when it is associated with the body, we call it conscious. To reach the goal which we defined as constant integrated awareness, we have to take the bodily aspect, the body consciousness, which is the conscious aspect, merge it into the conscience and merge both of them into consciousness. Then we discussed the various obstacles which face us in this process, and the three main ones were mala, that is the dirt accumulated on the mirror, vikshepa, which is the unsteadiness of the mirror, and the avarna, which is the complete covering of the mirror. While the first two allows one a small glimpse of the Atma, the manifestation of the Atma, the third one, which is totally covered, does not allow any glimpse at all. Here is an analysis of the obstacles which we have already discussed. I had not shown you this chart. We have the 6 enemies: desire, anger, greed, attachment, jealousy and pride. What I didn't discuss was the pride. The pride is of 8 varieties, and it is one of the main enemies. The pride usually consists of wealth, scholarship, birth, particularly in India, where people claim to have a higher birth and a lower birth, and things like that, physical power, beauty, authority, religion, and finally spiritual pride. That is the worst. If one gets affected by that, they've had it for many births, as Baba says. Then we have the 2 gunas, the rajas and tamas. We discussed how to convert them to the sattvic aspect. And one, the doership and enjoyership, the ego. You add the total, you have 16 obstacles present in the mind. And all these 16 have to be removed before our sadhana can give us any results. So, this is the first step, to get rid of the obstacles. In the process we also discussed how to get rid of them, and the main theme which has emerged from that is that the mind is like a bucket which we have to keep covered, not to let other people throw their rubbish into your bucket. So keep it covered. Then we discussed the meaning of the word sadhana and how to attain it. We discussed 4 steps already in the process of our sadhana. We are on to the 5th step, the practice of service. We discussed the prelude. What is the preparation necessary before we undertake any service in society? That is to gain awareness of the Atma, to understand that there is no separateness of the individual, the society and God. And having gathered that, we should undertake service activities. Then we considered the basic principles of service, and now we are coming to the practice of service. This practice has to be based on already the principles which we have discussed. Let's take I've written this down in question and answer form, because during our study circle meetings over the years, when I have conducted the study circle, this has emerged as a question and answer session. First question, why should we do seva? Because Baba has said it is the highest form of sadhana. Number 2, how do we set about doing service? During the 50th birthday in 1975, Baba gave us first time he gave us the guidelines of how to undertake this service. He said, everyone has to do some duty or the other. Either as service in society or for his own living. So any duty which you have to undertake is also a kind of service. The duty has to be supported, this is what he said, the duty has to be supported on either side by devotion and discipline and dedicated to God. This is the guideline he gave us at that time. Subsequently, before the 60th birthday, he has expanded this to include dedication and determination. But we will not discuss that, we'll just stick to these three, because these three are the basic fundamental aspects of execution of one's service. How should one execute one's duty? Baba says, duty is God. Since God is truth, truth must accompany one's duty. Duty is God. Since God is truth, truth must accompany one's duty. Whatever duty one may do, truth must accompany it. What is this truth which must accompany duty? This truth is called tapas. Tapas means purity and harmony of thought, word and deed. So this is the truth. The purity and harmony of thought, word and deed is tapas, and it is this truth which must accompany one's duty, whether the duty is for one's own self or whether we are executing this duty as service activity in the organization. During the 60th birthday, Baba gave this guideline again. He said, I am only giving you two guidelines. Do what you say, do not speak what you cannot do. That is tapas. Harmonize your thought, word and deed and make it pure. Here, the word sai, S-A-I, is in itself a guideline for our practice of service. Sai, S-A-I, S stands for service, A stands for awareness, I stands for the real I. Service with awareness of the I. I is the Atma. So SAI gives you the guideline for service with awareness of the I, which means constant integrated awareness. What happens if duty is not accompanied by truth? Answer is, since it is tinged with impurity, God will not accept the service. Our sadhana is rejected. Now, I'll give you an example. At one time, in the city of Bombay, it appeared as if we were doing a lot of work. Everybody is busy, doing something or the other. Palvikas, gurus, this, that, service people, bhajan singers, study circles, lots of activities. The state president was talking to Baba, and Baba said, well, what is going on in Bombay? Oh, Swami, lots of activities are going on. He said, kuch nahi chalta hai. Nothing is going on. So much activity is going on from morning till night. How can you say that kuch nahi chalta hai, nothing is going on? This is the reason. See? What happens if duty is not accompanied by tapas? That is the reason. God, even though the work is going on, even though the service is going on, it is unacceptable to God because that service is not accompanied by tapas. Tapas, that is synchronization of thought, word and deed, and purity and harmony of it. Discipline, devotion and surrender. What are they? Devotion means obedience to Swami. That is devotion. Implicitly, without any questions whatsoever. That is real devotion. If Swami says something, ready. Be prepared to do it. We must not start inventing excuses, imposing our likes and dislikes on it, and such other things, and then finally justify our stand by using our intelligence in a distorted fashion. See? So, this is the meaning of the word devotion. If this is not done, then Baba will still accept your devotion, but he will calls it show bhakti. Now surrender means recognition of the omniscience and the omnipotence of Swami. As soon as you accept that he knows everything and that he is all powerful, and with that knowledge, when you accept that knowledge, it really means surrender. Because then you have nothing to complain to him, because you know that whatever he is doing, he knows, whatever he is happening to you, he knows, and there is no question of any complaints. See? So this is an aspect of surrender where you accept him totally in his omniscience and omnicompetence. You must accept that he is omnicompetent. If we don't accept that aspect, then really we are questioning his authority. That doesn't mean surrender. Discipline means recognition of his omnipresence. For instance, we say Swami is present here. Good. Are we behaving here exactly as we would if he were really present in his physical body? If the answer is yes, good, we are a disciplined lot. But if the answer is no, it's too bad, we are thoroughly indisciplined. See? So this is the test of discipline. Omnipresence of Swami. Just think about that. Finally, Baba summarizes in 3 words the aspect of the practice of service. He says, good words, timely help and vigilant care. These are the 3 commandments of Sai for service. Good words, timely help and vigilant care. Now we will examine to some extent the aspect of tapas, which is very important. Because if it doesn't accompany our service, Swami will say we are not doing anything. Now, question is, why should we practice tapas? We all have a certain amount of individual will. Now, as long as the individual will is being practiced in society with the awareness of the body consciousness, then it will just go on remaining as your own individual will. That is the will based on body consciousness, that is ego. How do we convert this individual will to divine will? Add tapas to it. Purify the thought, word and deed, mix it with your individual will, it becomes divine will. Then, during the year 1975, he also said in one of his discourses that when you combine the vision of the divine in society with tapas, it will take you to a position where you will become divine. Here we must see what he means by vision of the divine in society. Vision of the divine in society simply means living and working in society with constant integrated awareness. That is vision of the divine in society. Mix it with tapas, you have nothing further more to do, you have reached the goal. He gives a beautiful example of tapas. He says, lamp, the wick and the oil are all necessary for light. The lamp is the body, the wick is the tongue, and the oil is the mind. So when these three get together, mind is thoughts, tongue is words, and body is the action. So thought, word and deed, when they're all in good trim, we get the light of truth. Now, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has given a very detailed account, a highly detailed account, very interesting, of what constitutes tapas. I've taken down the main points from there, and I'll just quickly go through it so that you can get an idea. First, why I am giving this is because, you see, take for instance a thief. Now, if a thief synchronizes his thought, word and deed, you see, he acquires an extraordinary amount of cunningness and power, and it's very difficult to catch him. The police have to have a greater amount of tapas to be able to catch a thief who has a high degree of tapas. See? So therefore, this tapas has to be not only harmony of thought, word and deed, but it has to be pure. So this purity is very important as well. See? Otherwise, you could just as well be a thief, see, and carry out tapas. That's not what is meant here. See, now purity of mind is gained by, Krishna says, free from anxiety, worry, hate, fear, greed and pride. That is, get rid of the 6 enemies first. Saturate the mind with love. Refrain from pursuing objective pleasures too much. Put a ceiling on the desires. And let it be centered in God. Let it be aware of the integrated awareness. That constitutes purity of mind. Purity of speech. This is where the tongue comes in. Avoid talking too much. Avoid false statements. Avoid scandal and criticism. Speak softly with the memory of God in the background. And speak truth which does not hurt. Now this is important. Last one. Let's analyze it a little bit. Why should we not speak truth? Even if it hurts somebody. Why? See, truth is love. And God is love. Therefore, since love does not hurt, truth should also not hurt. That is the reason why Baba says that if you have to speak truth, speak only that which does not hurt somebody. Because if you speak truth which hurts, it is not really associated with God anymore. Truth is God, love is also God. So truth must also be associated with love. And if it hurts, then it is not love. That is the reasoning behind the aspect of not speaking truth harshly. Then the purity of body, service of man, worship of the Lord, breath control, pranayama, and tread the path of dharma, righteousness. Pranayama, just a few words. The traditional pranayama means the taking in of breath, holding it and letting it out slowly. In this process, what happens is certain changes take place. When you hold your breath, thoughts stand still. This is a technique of the yogis, which it's a basic technique for calming down your mind. If you're too agitated, take in a deep breath, hold it. Thoughts cease. The moment the breath ceases, thoughts cease. So, this holding business is a little dangerous because it can cause a lot of physical damage to the heart. And to do that properly, one has to be either under the training of a proper person who knows about it, or follow Baba's formula. The traditional formula is that if the ratio of taking in of the breath, holding it and taking it out, if you count 4 for taking in, then holding is 16 and taking out is 8. So that ratio is dangerous. If you have the ratio of 1, 1, 1, nothing much will happen. You will still be doing pranayama safely. This is the formula which Baba has given. Now, we've already discussed what Baba says about tapas. Do what you speak, do not speak what you cannot do. Now, there are 3 subtle aspects associated with tapas. Let me tell you a story of Shankaracharya. Before Shankaracharya was initiated, or rather before he acquired the wisdom of Advaita, he was traveling the length and breadth of the country with his disciples and visiting various places, giving talks. Like one day he had gone to Banaras. There is a famous temple of Lord Vishveshwaraya. Lord Vishveshwaraya means the Lord of the universe. And suddenly Shankaracharya realized that he was not practicing the synchronization of his thought, word and deed. So he felt some remorse at that time in the temple, and he decided that he should apologize to the Lord. So he stood up and with a very loud voice said, "O Lord, I have committed 3 sins." As soon as he said that, all his disciples came close to him to find out what the sins the Master had committed. That time he said that knowing that you are omnipresent, I have come all the way from Kaladi in the south, in Kerala, to Banaras to have your darshan. The second sin was that knowing that nobody can describe you, I have been writing poetry and trying to describe you, knowing full well that you cannot be described. That is the second sin. And the third sin is that knowing that you are omnipresent and that you know all about me, that you are omniscient, yet when I am coming to you here in the temple, I am declaring to you that I am Shankaracharya, so and so, I have come from Kaladi, my parents were so and so, and I was born in such and such time. This tradition of declaring oneself amongst the sages and saints, he traditionally practiced it. And then he realized that this was an aspect of him not recognizing the omniscience of God. So he fell at the feet of Vishveshwaraya and said that from henceforth I am not going to commit these sins, because one who synchronizes his thought, word and deed is a Mahatma. One who does not synchronize his thought, word and deed is a Duratma. Duratma means a useless, low person. As soon as he said that, God wanted to test him. Now, the approach to the Vishveshwaraya temple is in a very narrow lane. If one is coming from one side, no other person can pass that person. The other person either has to wait or he has to back out. As Shankaracharya entered with his disciples from that side of the temple, from the opposite side, an untouchable entered. Untouchable in the form of a hunter. This man was carrying a bag full of meat, and 4 dogs were accompanying him. And he had his hunting equipment. He was a tall, naked, strong, hefty-looking chap. And Shankaracharya recognized him as an untouchable because he was carrying meat and he was following this profession of hunting. So as soon as he saw him, Shankaracharya said, "Here, you untouchable, get back, move away from me." So this fellow stood his ground and said, "Look, if you are calling this body an untouchable, then this body is not any different and it's made of the same 5 basic elements as your body. So you have no right to call this body an untouchable because it's the same as yours." Then the second point he raised was that the Atma contained in you is the same Atma as in me. So who are you telling to go away from whom? This Atma and your Atma is the same. How can one Atma tell another Atma to go away when the Atma is the same? Shankaracharya immediately realized that there was something here, and with his wisdom he immediately saw through the disguise. That is, it was the Lord himself who had disguised as this untouchable to teach him this aspect of Advaita. He fell at his feet. Shankaracharya went and touched the untouchable's feet, and he had the darshan of Lord Vishveshwaraya. And he blessed him and he said, "Go and now spread this aspect of Advaita, of the oneness of the Atma." So this story tells how from one to another it led Shankaracharya towards Advaita. Then the third aspect, a very subtle aspect of the truth of tapas, is explained here. Now, before creation, we don't know what happened. That's the question mark there. Nobody knows. See? The formless, unmanifest aspect of divinity is there. I mean, we just take it as, we presume that this is the area. So, Baba said that I was alone by myself. So, I had to separate myself from myself so that I could love myself. That was the purpose of creation. I was alone, and so I had to separate myself from myself so that I could love myself. And in the Vedas it is declared, Ekoham Bahusyam, the one became the many. As soon as that one became the many, that creation took place. So, in this part, I had asked Swami some time ago, long time ago, Swami, what exactly happened at the time of creation? So he said that 3 things took place simultaneously. One is the will, the ichcha of God, the sankalpa. Second, the work which accompanied the will, the sankalpa. And both these together produce sound, that is Om. Now here you will see that there are 3 things here. Sankalpa, sound and karma. Sankalpa is thought, sound is word, and karma is action. So at the time of creation, thought, word and deed came into being. And if one wishes to reach the formless, then one has to travel upwards through these 3 gates of thought, word and deed. See, that is why so much importance is given by Swami to one's word, to his word, and to the aspect of tapas, of synchronizing and purifying one's thought, word and deed. It's because without that there is no hope at all of reaching divinity, because these are the only 3 gates through which we have to go upwards, back again to the formless state. The formless came into form through these 3 aspects, and to reach back up to the formless, we have to once again go back through these three aspects. In our Zoroastrian religion, the whole concept of religion is based on these three words: Humata, Hukta, Huvarashta. And these three words constitute tapas. Here, Hu stands for divinity. So the divinity is coupled with thoughts, divinity is coupled with words, and divinity is coupled with deed. So divine thoughts, divine words, divine deeds. That is the aspect of purity of thought, word and deed, tapas and harmony. While we are at this level of sound, I'll tell you something about Om. This Omkar in 1983 or so, around that time during Dasara time in Prashanthi Nilayam, Dasara time is one of the finest times in Prashanthi Nilayam because you get purified without yourself knowing that you are getting purified. See? Because the yajna is going on. The sound of the yajna enters you. The mantras enter you. You breathe the mantras in. You hear the mantras. And all these things give that aspect of purity, which is so necessary for progressing towards God. The second thing which is very nice there at that time is Swami gives you a talk every day for 7 days running. He chooses some theme and it's like a mini summer course. And I have never missed Dasara. I always go there ever since I have come in contact with Swami. Because you come to learn many little things which we miss if we don't attend there. What I'm going to tell you is one such thing. We miss it to such an extent that it has not even appeared in Sanatana Sarathi, even though it was given in a public discourse. Baba said at that time very categorically about Om. He said that Om is not to be pronounced as A, U and Ma, that is Om. He said that is wrong. You have to pronounce it by keeping your lips shut. And he gave the example of an aeroplane. He said when an aeroplane is coming from a distance, you hear the drone, and initially the drone is faint, then becomes loud, becomes faint again. Now, this is to be done when we are chanting Om 21 times or more. It's not to be done, for instance, if you want to recite Om 3 times, as Dr. Perry asked you to do just now, or like if you repeat it in a bhajan, or if you're reciting the Gayatri, then you say Om. About a year later, I had an opportunity, once again, to ask Swami about this, because I was very intrigued with this revelation which he had given. I said, what is the difference, Swami, between this way which you told us to chant Om and the way which is constantly being chanted all the time? He said, it is like reciting a word and spelling it. And he gave the illustration. He said the word, let's take the word God. Now you can say God, G-O-D, or you can say God. So when you recite Om, it is like saying G-O-D. But if you recite it, that is saying God. There is a third thing which he enlightened us on this. And that was that if you lay stress on you get material prosperity while chanting Om. If you lay stress on you get wisdom. If you lay stress on you merge with divinity. So, if you recite according to the way he has given it, then the chances of merging are greater. Now we come to the seventh aspect of our sadhana, the Gayatri Mantra. This is very important. This is very important because it helps in polishing the mirror of buddhi, which is covered with dirt. To get rid of the dirt, the Gayatri helps in the cleaning process. People ask, why should we recite the Gayatri? There are many reasons why you should, because the main reason is that God is asking you to do it. There shouldn't be any further questions about it, see? Because He said so. He's taught us. And so we should do it. But because human beings are human beings, they need, even God's statement has to be supported. See? So let me give you some quotations for supporting it. The first one is from a scientist who is dead and gone, but who is a well-known scientist, J.B.S. Haldane. He had invented many things, basic things, during the early part of this century. And he was well aware, not only of the Gayatri Mantra, but he was well versed in it and used to practice it. Having practiced it, he had obviously got some fruits of his practice. And it had delighted him so much that he had said in one of his writings, the Gayatri Mantra should be carved on the doors of each and every laboratory in the world. So that supports Baba's statement. Then I'll tell you about Vyasa. Vyasa was the one who compiled all the Vedas. He wrote the Puranas. He wrote various things. He was verily an incarnation of divinity. And this is what he has to say about the Gayatri Mantra. The way honey is the essence of flowers and butter of milk, in the same way Gayatri is the essence of all the Vedas. Gayatri, when realized, is verily the celestial wish-fulfilling cow. Ganga cleanses the worldly body and Gayatri cleanses the soul. Gayatri is the greatest means of extending your spiritual powers and successfully accomplishing good ends. There is nothing greater than Gayatri for this purpose. Sage Bharadwaja, in whose lineage Swamiji has taken birth, he says, even divinities pray to Gayatri because it makes possible the realization of Brahman. Gayatri removes from you the propensities of evil action. Then sage Valmiki, the author of Ramayana, he says, even fools, criminals, and men with unstable minds are able to attain enlightenment by the power of Gayatri. When that is so, then the worship of Gayatri by the firm and pure-minded persons like us will surely lead them to self-realization. See? That is Valmiki, he says that. Then Ramakrishna Paramahamsa says, I tell people that due to the sadhana of Gayatri, hard austerities have been rendered unnecessary. The greatest of siddhis, the greatest of powers, can be obtained by the japa of Gayatri. The Gayatri mantra is small, but its powers immeasurable. What does Swamis have to say about it? Swamiji says that Vishwamitra, who was the seer, the sage from whom the Gayatri emanated, he used this Gayatri to master rare weapons, which he gave to Rama afterwards for conquering Lanka. Not only that, but with the help of the Gayatri, he managed to create a counter-universe. And Baba says further that according to Baba, he is the only scientist which the world has produced. There is no other scientist in the world. All other scientists are merely playing with superficial elementary knowledge today, including nuclear physics, etc., whatever you like to call it. That is all very, very elementary as compared to Vishwamitra, who could produce a counter-universe with the recitation of the Gayatri. I was initiated into the Gayatri by Baba during 1972 under strange circumstances which you may read about in the Vision of the Divine. But since I have been faithfully following Swami's commandments in this respect, I can tell you from my own personal experiences that all these sages who have said these things, you see, it's within the bounds of your experience also. You can also gain these experiences provided you love the Gayatri, you have faith in the Gayatri, and follow the discipline laid down by the Gayatri. Then you can also gain these experiences and become aware of the powers contained in the Gayatri. One small example I'll give. I have many examples, but I'll give you one small example. During the summer course, this time, I was due to talk on a particular day at 9 o'clock in the morning and give a talk on the divine facets of Satya Sai. When around 12 o'clock, suddenly some breeze started up and it came into my room, and it must have blown in some pollen from somewhere, and I began to get sensitized to it. So the choking sensation came on and I was unable to breathe. I began to cough and splutter and various things which go with a sort of an attack of asthma. Not asthma, but the bronchial tree, it closes up, spasm takes place. So when the spasm takes place, you can't just relieve the spasm, see? You have to take some injection or swallow some medicine. Now, I had some anti-allergic and anti-decongestant and this relaxing drugs, so I took a good dose of that. Waited for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, nothing happened. It began to become worse. So at 12:20 in the night, I swallowed some more of it, double dose, and then waited. Nothing happened. It began to become worse. And then I was having thoughts of sending word early in the morning to the Vice Chancellor, telling him that it's not possible for me to take this talk today, to postpone it some other time. Then the thought occurred to me that maybe I should wake up the doctor and ask him if he has got a cortisone injection, because that injection would relieve this kind of trouble. Now, 12:30 in the night in Vrindavan, to go and disturb somebody, wake them up, and asked them, and suppose he hasn't, then the whole exercise has been futile. Then, as usual, my wife always comes to the rescue. She said that, see, you got that lingam, Baba has given the lingam, why don't you do Abhishek and drink it? So he has given us a small lingam some years ago with the instructions to do Abhishek and drink the water. So I started doing that. In 10 minutes of Gayatri Abhishek, the chest cleared. It wasn't enough, so I repeated it. Another 10 minutes, I was absolutely all right. I slept. And similarly, see, there are many instances where the Gayatri is your staff on which you can rely and go through life without causing any trouble to others. Now, in this context, why we have chosen this aspect of the Gayatri, I'll tell you some things about it which I have not written about in the book, so I thought I would give it to you. Here you will have had this paper. On it is mentioned invocation for the Gayatri. Now there are 2 or 3 printing errors. In the second line, last word, it should be Jushasvame. That K is superfluous. You should remove the K. In the third line, the first word, it is not Surya. It is Sarva, S-U-R-V-A. Not S-U-R-Y-A, but S-U-R-V-A. Now what is this invocation for the Gayatri? This is something which I have been using for identification with the Gayatri. Now this is essential because it is an aspect of the constant integrated awareness. To gain this constant integrated awareness and use the Gayatri mantra, you have to love the Gayatri, you have to have faith in the Gayatri, you have to recite the Gayatri according to the rules, and you must identify yourself with the Gayatri. So this prayer helps you to identify yourself. Now, it is not merely to be recited haphazardly. You have to picture in your mind that the aspect of Gayatri, which is not somewhere outside you, but which is really inside one, see, that aspect, you want that aspect to manifest. That you want that aspect to be so that you are not separate from it. See? So you have to affirm that by saying it. And this prayer is doing just that. We say, Ayatu. You see, when you say that, whatever you are saying, you understand the meaning, and as if you are talking to another person, as if you are talking to Gayatri, you must say it that way. You must say it with with the full recognition of the reality, as if it is there in person. See, you must talk to Gayatri properly, not merely recite it. Nothing will happen. See? Ayatu Varda Devi Aksharam Brahma Samhitam Gayatri Chandasam Mata Idam Brahma Jushashme Sarva Varne Mahadevi Sandhya Vidhe Saraswati Ajre Amare Sai Mata Sarva Sai Tattvam Asi. Now the meaning is given there. We are saying, come, oh come. Now not from outside, it's inside. That means manifest through yourself. Come, O boon-giving goddess. revealer of the immortal Brahman, O Gayatri, mother of the Vedas, enlighten me on this Brahman, supreme goddess in various forms, bestower of Saraswati at the time of Sandhya. Bestower of Saraswati means Saraswati is the aspect of knowledge, also the aspect of speech. So, through Gayatri, you are getting this aspect of wisdom. At the time of Sandhya, Sandhya means the time now, where the day is ending and night is beginning. So that is the time which is called Sandhya, the meeting point. So there are two Sandhyas during the day. First thing in the morning when dawn meets the day, and in the evening time when it's twilight and dusk takes place. So at these two times, nature stands still, and that is the time, the best time to recite the Gayatri. So it is at that time that the Gayatri is conferring on us the aspect of wisdom. And Ajare Amare Sai Mata, that means eternal and immortal Divine Mother, Mother of all, Tat Tvam Asi. Tat Tvam Asi means that and this is. We identify ourselves with it. See? And this identification, once we have done it, we must try to carry it through the day, if possible. If it doesn't, then do it again at lunchtime, 12 o'clock. Once again do it at night. So this is the aspect of Gayatri. Baba says that faith and reverence, love and discipline of tapas in Gayatri and oneness with Gayatri. If we can understand and experience the Gayatri through all its aspects, then we shall acquire the same status as Gayatri. That is what Baba has said. If we can experience the Gayatri through all its aspects, then we shall acquire the same status as Gayatri, which is what Vishwamitra had. This time at summer course, he also said something which was very nice. He said, Gayatri also means that which cuts the cows. Now this was a riddle. When he said it, I could not make out head or tail of what the meaning was. Then we were thinking about it, and it suddenly occurred that in another summer course, he had described the passing away of Radha. At that time, Radha, on the sand dunes, she knows she's going to leave the body. So she's praying to Krishna and is telling him that, "Oh Krishna, take away all your cows. They are giving me too much trouble." Now, she was on the sand dunes, there were no cows present there. But she's saying that, "Oh Krishna, take away your cows, they are giving me too much trouble." Baba explained that this cows here means senses, all the five senses. Here Radha is surrendering her senses to Krishna because she doesn't need them anymore, she's going to leave the body. Similarly, Baba said Gayatri also means that which cuts the cows. That means that which cuts the senses, that which helps you to control the senses. That is the meaning. The inner strength and illumination required for being established in constant integrated awareness then is conferred by the Gayatri through these three aspects: faith and reverence, love and discipline of tapas in Gayatri, and oneness with the Gayatri. We have dealt with faith and reverence, we have dealt with the oneness of the Gayatri, the invocation. The one thing which remains is the tapas in Gayatri. Gayatri has got three aspects. There is Gayatri, there is Savitur, and there is Saraswati. Gayatri looks after the life force, the aspect of prana, that which makes the body go. Prana is associated with thoughts. You hold the prana, thought cease. When you do pranayama, hold it, thought cease. So that prana is associated with thoughts. So this is the thought aspect. Saraswati is the speech aspect. And Savitur looks after the organs of work. Savitur is the aspect of divinity which is behind the sun. It is the vivifying power behind the sun. So that looks after the health and all the organs of work which man has. So here we have once again the thought, the word and the deed. Now all these three are in the Gayatri. Suppose you don't synchronize, or I should say we don't synchronize our thoughts, words and deeds, then the Gayatri also, within the Gayatri, Savitur is pulling in one direction, Saraswati is going in another direction, and Gayatri going in another direction. There's no harmony in the mantra, so the mantra will not work. See? For the mantra to work, this aspect of tapas, of thought, word and deed, the harmony and purity is very essential. See? So tapas not only implies the merely synchronizing your thought, word and deed, but if you are practicing Gayatri mantra, chanting it, then this again is very important, otherwise the Gayatri mantra will not work. Practice of Gayatri means when the chanting of Gayatri ceases, then the practice begins. This is the practice of tapas. That is the practice of Gayatri. See? Chanting of Gayatri, you chant, but the practice is afterwards. When the chanting stops, practice begins. See? Now, there are two prayers given on that sheet which you have. There is a story behind these prayers. Many years ago, in the 60s, a devotee had requested Baba one day that, Swami, how does one pray to God? Swami, out of his compassion, told him, this is how you pray. And he wrote these prayers in Telugu for the benefit of this devotee. Now see the compassion of God. God is giving you the prayer by means of which you can win His grace, provided you say that prayer back again to Him. And He Himself is giving you this prayer. See? It's such a wonderful thing. See? And we came to know about this in the early 70s. So my wife wrote a letter to Professor Kasturi and asked him about it. He said that we have heard that Swami Baba has given a prayer which we would like to have. If you can translate it in English and send it to us. So he sent this. And we gave it to the Bal Vikas magazine and it was published in the magazine. Now this prayer appears very simple, but a little analysis will reveal of the deep significance of this morning and evening prayer. The first line, O Lord, I am born now from the womb of sleep. This implies every day we are having a new birth. We are being born from sleep. That means a new birth every day. With a clean slate we are starting a new day. I am determined to carry out all tasks this day as offerings to Thee. We discussed the aspect of Sri Om Sri Sai Arpanam, dedicating everything. That is contained in this prayer. Then it further says, ever present before my mind's eye. That is constant integrated awareness. Make my words, thoughts and deeds sacred and pure. That is the aspect of harmony and purity of tapas. Let me not inflict pain on anyone. Let no one inflict pain on me. Hurt never, help ever. The essence of the 18 Puranas is contained here. Direct me, guide me this day. Surrender. I am prepared to obey you. Then the evening prayer. O Lord, the tasks of this day whose burden I placed on you this morning are over. Recognizing you as my Lord, as the doer, is the one who is doing the work. I place the burden on you. If I was thinking that I am going to do the work, then I would not place the burden on somebody else. But if I place the burden on somebody else, I am recognizing that that person is going to do the work. So I am implicitly recognizing that he is the doer. I am not the doer. I have given him the work. I have placed the burden on him. See? It was you who made me walk, talk and think and act. In other words, I was only an instrument in your hands. I therefore place at thy feet all my words, thoughts and deeds. Since you, my Lord, were the doer, you are also the enjoyer of the fruits. I have nothing to do with them. You did the work, you got the fruits, you enjoy. See? My task is done. Receive me, I am coming back to you. I am surrendering myself and I am coming back to you. Baba says that sleep is like death. Morning when you get up, it's like birth. So both these prayers which Swami has given, they're full of pregnant with meaning, inner significance, which if you understand and recite, he, through his love, compassion and grace, will confer his grace and remove the 16 obstacles which we have been talking about and which are all contained in here for removal. Now we come to the last part of this talk, and that is the 9th aspect of our sadhana. I hope you are not too tired. I hope I'm not giving you too much trouble. You see, during the summer course, he had been saying many things. Here, I am simply going to quote him, because that's much better than my talking about it. Living in this vast universe, you must develop broad thoughts and feelings and make an attempt to understand the nature of the Atma. Spirituality should not be approached from a narrow, limited standpoint. See, all our troubles will be eliminated if we can broaden our minds to include everything in spirituality. Doing worship, now see, listen to this very carefully. Doing worship, bhajans, meditation and the like are considered by many as signs of spirituality. But all these are mental aberrations and give only mental satisfaction to the practitioners. You praise God, saying, God, you are my father, you are my mother, you are my friend, and so on. But I ask you, why all this mumbo-jumbo and gibberish? See? Why not simply say, you are I am you, and be done with it? See? Now, God is saying this, and yet when we are singing bhajans and we are doing various things, we still go on in this fashion. He says, you are not different from God. You are God. God is you. If you are firmly established in this faith, you need not undertake any other sadhana or spiritual practices. That's a guarantee which is giving. See? Be established in this constant integrated awareness, and you don't need to do anything. Now here, to aid in this identification, our organization has a name, Sri Satya Sai Seva Organization. Here it is called Sri Satya Sai Baba Centers. Now that is a modified version. The original name is Sri Satya Sai Seva Organizations. See? Now how to use this name? The seva, the sadhana, the goal, it's all contained in the name. We'll analyze this just now. But before we do that, Baba has just given this 2 months ago. So it's very interesting because it aids in going towards this goal. Now, just as milk contains curds, buttermilk, cheese and butter, it's all milk. But there are different stages whereby you can get those 4 by doing various things. So in the same way, these are the 4 stages which the devotee goes through in going towards God. First one, salokyam. That means I am in the sphere of existence where God exists. God is there, I am also there. Loka means the place. Salokyam, sa means divine. In the divine place, I am also in the divine place. Samipyam, that means I am going closer to God. I am going closer to Swami. Sarupyam, I am beginning to acquire his form. I am beginning to acquire Swami's form. See? Sayujyam, I am merging in Swami. Last stage. Baba gives the same thing in another way. The Mohammedans also say this. First, I am in the light, then the light is in me, I am the light. In the first sermon which Christ gave on the Mount, he declared himself first as the messenger of God. See? God is there, I am here. I am the messenger. I have no connection. He is the master, I am the messenger. Later on through the Bible he says, I am the son of God. That is the aspect of Samipyam and Sarupyam. See? Because through this, when he says I am the son of God, he acquires the capacities and the authority to work in his Father's name. Finally he says, I and my Father are one. I am God. That is the final stage. When we say Tat Tvam Asi, Tat Tvam Asi, that is the aspect of constant integrated awareness. Now, this organization, if you belong to the Rotary organization or to Lions Club or something like that, then people say, oh, you are a Rotarian. Or they'll say, oh, you are a lion. See? Now we belong to the Satya Sai Seva organization. We should be Satya Sai. See? See? Now, you see, similarly, the Satya Sai Seva organization expects each individual member to progress towards being a Satya Sai. It is actually only a mental confirmation of the basic truth of one's reality. We know Baba says that you are God. We have only got to put that into practice mentally. The first step which he gave us in our sadhana was Manasa Bhajare Guru Charanam, mental worship. See? Now, it means that our thoughts, ideas and our practices in everyday life should not be in any manner different from that of Satya Sai himself. The thoughts, words and deeds have to conform with whatever Sai wants us to do and not what our untamed ego forces us to do. That is the inner meaning of saying that each one of us has to progress towards being a Satyasai. Now here, we saw the Balvikas play. It doesn't mean an external imitation of Satyasai by wearing a particular dress or emulating various gestures with one's hand. Now, what happens is that there are various people in the organization. I often see them sitting by themselves doing this. See? Now, this is not what is meant by what I am saying here. Don't misunderstand. Now, it's only when we mold the total pattern of all our activities, whether in the organization or outside the organization, on the blueprint supplied by Satyasai, that we shall earn the privilege of becoming real members of this organization. On the other hand, if we develop ideas which do not conform with the ideas of Satyasai and his teachings, then we shall be members in name only, and waste our life pretending to have faith in Baba and his teachings. Not will we be fooling ourselves, but also all others who come in contact with us. We will be creating a false impression of Satyasai in their minds. It is in this context that Baba has said, I do not want that you should preach my message, but I want that you should live my message. See? Now each and every one of us is a Satyasai, and we must make an effort to understand the spiritual significance of being a Satyasai. What is the spiritual significance? You see, when we say that we are members of the Satyasai organization, we are not only affirming by words that we are Satyasai, but we are declaring this truth with every breath. What does the breath say? So hum, so hum. That is, I am that, so hum, I am that. That is what the breath declares with each breathing process. Second significance, as soon as we say, I am Satyasai, mentally, when you affirm that and keep on remembering that and contemplating that fact, then it will be impossible for that person to have thoughts and ideas which are separate from those of Satyasai. See? You know, you can't think two things at one time. Have you ever tried it? No. You can never do that. If you go on thinking that you are Satyasai, then it's not possible to have another thought at the same time. See? So let this thought be there constantly. Let this constant integrated awareness prevail throughout. Now, by being a Satyasai, it will be possible for us to transcend the gunas. Now, we mentioned about the gunas being the obstacles. Now, there are three stages for this sadhana. You first affirm in your mind, I am Satyasai. Secondly, you picture his glory. Finally, acquire the will and the capacity to put his thoughts, words into practice. What he says, put them into practice. See? Then the success of this sadhana will come as a direct personal proof of his presence and his omnipresence. See? You will gain this, I'll guarantee that. There is also a story which Swami relates of this type of sadhana. Shankaracharya, when he was preaching Advaita, he had acquired a number of enemies. Jealousy. There was one person called Kapalika. He was very jealous of Shankara. So he was also a sage. And he said to Shankaracharya that I have won a boon from God, and he has said that if I could bring him the head of either a king or a saint, he will give me a seat beside him for good all times. Brahma will keep me with him always if I can produce a head of a king or a saint and give it to him. He made it up. Shankaracharya knew, but he came to Shankaracharya and said that, look, Brahma has given me this boon. Now, if you can give me your head, you see, I will be established near Brahma and the whole world will come to know about the proof of your detachment. See? So you will prove that you are totally detached from your body and I will get my wish. So please give me your head. Shankaracharya agreed. He said, yes. But he said, don't come now because all the disciples are here and if they see you, well, they won't leave you alone. See? So come tomorrow at this time when they have all gone to the river for bathing. So this fellow, he comes armed with a chopper to cut off his head. As he is approaching Shankaracharya from a distance, one disciple of Shankaracharya, who was regarded by all the other disciples as a totally incompetent idiot, who had no brains whatsoever to understand anything which Shankaracharya was teaching, this fellow had been given by Shankaracharya the duties of merely looking after his physical needs, because he had no capacity to grasp anything which Shankaracharya taught. So, but, see here, this chap was doing his duty with such love, reverence and dedication to the Guru, that through the Guru's grace, he was able to acquire the wisdom which the others had to study. He got this wisdom and the nearness to the Guru through the grace of Guru by doing service to the Guru. And his name was Padmapada. As he was having his bath, suddenly he began to feel a trembling sensation in his body. And when he felt this, he immediately knew that the master was in danger. Now none of the other disciples knew this or felt this, nothing, even though they were great scholars. See? So he ran back from the river, and while he was running back, he was chanting the mantra which Shankaracharya had given him. That mantra related to Narsimhan avatar, the avatar of God as half lion, half man. Baba says that when the chanter of a mantra identifies himself with the object of the mantra, then there is no difference. The object becomes one with the chanter. So as Padmapada was running towards Shankaracharya, he got all the capacities and the strength of Narsimhan avatar. By the time he reached Shankaracharya, he caught hold of Kapalika and tore him apart with his bare hands, as if he was a lion. So here is a proof of the affirmation. See? Similarly, if you go on identifying yourself with Satyasai, then the wisdom, the aspects of Satyasai, the divine aspects, they will all come to one as a fruit of this sadhana. Now we come to the reasons for the existence of the organization. This is another sacred aspect of the organization. The members have to achieve the goal of self-realization by their own individual efforts, and the organization exists to help the members to purify their inner equipment. The members do not exist for achieving some specific goal for the organization. You see, here the goal is self-realization, and the organization provides the opportunity. One day when I asked Baba, Swami, what is the purpose of this organization? He simply spoke one word, Chitta Suddhi, for purifying your inner equipment. That is the purpose of the organization. See? Now, Satya Sai Seva organization, the very name of the organization contains the means and the goal of our sadhana. You see, there is also the opposite aspect to consider. Suppose we mentally stop being a Satya Sai, but still carry on the various activities in the organization with the feeling that we are doing something for somebody else. Then according to Baba, all those activities amount to nothing. And outwardly it may appear that we are very busy and doing a lot of work, but the inward progress is at a standstill. And Baba has often cryptically remarked, there is no work done. See, as I gave the example earlier. Baba tells us why this happens, and he also lays down the blueprint for the various activities of the organization. See? He sings one particular song. He has sung this many times. Without Satya Dharma Shanti Prema, whatever work you undertake, the net result is zero. Without Satya Dharma Shanti Prema, whatever positions of authority you may occupy, the net result is zero. Without Satya Dharma Shanti Prem, whatever charity you may give, the net result of all that charity is zero. Without Satya Dharma Shanti Prema, whatever scholarship you may acquire, the net result in the end of all that scholarship is zero. What other greater truth can I tell you, O you good citizens who have assembled here? That is the poem which he often sings in the beginning of his discourses. And it is this is the real sadhana. This is the aspect of sadhana which we have to pay attention to. This is the guideline. Now you see, this guideline is uncompromising. You see, we tend to make compromises, but he is very uncompromising. See, these are the real rules and guidelines for our sadhana. All the other rules which we may frame from time to time at various conferences, see, they are meaningless unless these rules are followed first. See? It is these rules, if these rules are ignored, then only our rules are followed, and there is no progress, no point. See? Our rules are an aid later on, provided these rules are followed first. Now, in this context, see, we have to understand the word Sri Satya Sai. Now, as we all know, Baba has his devotees as his instruments. Now, if we say we are Satya Sai, who are our instruments? Who are our devotees? See? See, our body, with its equipment of various sense organs and organs of work, they are our instruments, which we have been discussing for the sake for purification. See? There's also another word in it. The word seva. We must understand its meaning. Service rendered in a spirit of sacrifice and with love is known as seva. Now, we already discussed this earlier. I won't go again into the details of it. S-A-I, Sai. Service with the awareness of the I. Service with the awareness of integrated consciousness. Finally, we come to the last word which we have not considered. Sri Satya Sai Seva Organization. See? Sri. See, when we make an attempt to understand and put into practice all these aspects of the organization, then we become an heir to the love and grace of Satya Sai. And thereby, when that comes on us, all aspects of prosperity, connected with our sadhana, connected with our efforts, connected with our worldly life, connected with all aspects of our life, Satya Sai sees to it that descends on us. That is the Sri aspect. Why? Because the Lord has got 8 types of prosperities. Sri Mai is one of his major aspects of God's prosperity. So that is conferred on us by his grace. Thus the name Sri Satya Sai Seva Organization lays down the basis and the guidelines of our sadhana. So that brings to an end the aspects of the sadhana associated with understanding the constant integrated awareness. This last sadhana, I have called it the importance of being a Satya Sai. So that brings us to the close of this particular talk and the constant integrated awareness. Now, if you have any questions, which I am sure you have, we'll discuss that. Then we will talk a little bit about the Gayatri Mantra. After this, we will have a break of 10 minutes, but please don't get up from here because it takes us a long while to round everybody up again. See, you can stretch your legs. We can have a little break for 5 to 10 minutes, and in the meantime, you can think of all the questions which you want to ask pertaining to all aspects of what we have discussed today.
Yes, we have two more announcements. First, we need a count of how many people will want box lunches on Monday. So tell Pandu, everyone recognize. Second, we're told that group 3 didn't sleep until 3 p.m. on Friday. I don't know the significance of that. 3 a.m., that's an A. It's written like this, and then they tell me it's an A. But I guess they're supposed to sleep a little bit earlier tonight. That would be my guess. Now, we have a microphone that's going to be carried around, so if people have questions, 2 microphones. So when we call on someone, a microphone will come to you and ask your question into the microphone so that people who hear this later know what the question was that was being answered. Otherwise, you leave the conference knowing all the answers but not the questions. Okay, are we ready to start the question period? Questions? Ron? Well, you can take it because you have to be there to answer. Otherwise, we have to keep trading position.
You talked about the obstacles. One of them, which is also in the yamas and niyamas, is speaking the truth. Are there any exceptions to that which Baba may say under circumstances permissible to quote-unquote lie, hopefully for good? And we give you 2 examples. The example we often read is the person saw a fox which was injured and the hunter has injured it, and they came to the person, did you see the fox go? And he says, yes, I did. He said, which way? And pointed the wrong way because they were trying to protect, otherwise the hunter was going to kill the fox. The other case I personally went through this week, I was dealing a deal with a builder, and after a couple of rounds, well, this is my last offer. Deep down in my heart, I knew it wasn't the last offer. I was willing to negotiate. And anyway, he said, well, then I'll accept it. Was it a lie, and was it permissible?
Well, I can only give you an example which Baba has cited, and through that example, you can consult your own master who is within you, the conscience. When the Mahabharata war was over, Ashwatthama was still around the place, and he had taken a vow that he was going to kill all the Pandavas. And Krishna knew that through treachery he was going to do it unless he stood by and protected them. Now Krishna, master of strategy and play and pulling wool over others' eyes, what he did was, he went to Durvasa. And the sage Durvasa is well known for his anger. If Durvasa got angry with you, that was your end. Because merely by looking at you with his angry eyes, he had the capacity to reduce the person to ashes. And everybody knew that. So therefore, nobody ever crossed his path or ever went into his way. They all kept away from Durvasa. Krishna went to Durvasa in the forest and said, Durvasa, I have a little request for you. Durvasa, knowing full well what Krishna would like to do, the first condition he made to Krishna, Krishna, even if you tell me, I am not going to tell a lie. First thing he said to Krishna, Krishna, I am not telling you that you speak a lie, but I am telling you to speak something in a particular way. It is not a lie. What was this? Now see, this should answer your question. See, he told Durvasa that, look, I am going to dig a pit. I am going to put all the Pandavas in that pit. That pit is to be covered with a plank. On top of that plank you will put the mud and the earth and the dirt and the grass, and then you will sit on top of it. Then, when Swatama comes to you and asks, have you seen the Pandavas? Then what I want you to do is to get angry and say, yes, I'm sitting on top of them. See? That is all. See? Now, you see how Krishna handled the situation. So when Ashwatthama came, as soon as Durvasa said it like that, he ran. Because Krishna knew what was in Ashwatthama's mind. See? That's an example. Next. Yes, give the mic on. No?
Question about the invocation for the Gayatri. Does this get said once before you begin chanting the Gayatri?
Beg your pardon?
Do you first just say this once before chanting the Gayatri? The invocation for the Gayatri you repeat once?
You don't say it. You talk to Gayatri.
Okay. And then you can chant the Gayatri?
Yes,
after.
with concentration on the meaning of each word, slowly.
And where is this from? Was it written in any scripture?
Well, part of it is written somewhere, and a part of it has been modified by me.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, in your book, Dr. Fanibunda, you speak about how one is to recite the Gayatri, and I remember you saying that if it's done wrong, it can actually have the opposite effect of throwing one further in darkness, although then you also said that if it's said with devotion, then some of that is overlooked. I was going to ask you, first of all, can you clarify that a little bit, and also would you mind to recite it once for us?
Yes, we will do that just now, in a little while. Let's answer the questions first of all the things which we have discussed. Anybody else? Didn't you want to ask a question, Dr. Perry? You didn't. No, only question, not an announcement. Yes.
In the morning we talked and I said that discipline leads to, you said duty, and duty leads to devotion.
No.
I didn't understand.
Duty in the center, flanked by devotion and discipline.
Right. So discipline, duty and devotion.
Yes.
Can you just elaborate a little how that circle will work?
No, there is no circle. It's only duty. You have to perform the duty with discipline and devotion. Now, for instance, suppose you were given the job of putting this tablecloth on the table. That's your duty. Now, if you do it in a disciplined manner, then you will lay it down properly. See? If you do it haphazardly, then one bit will be long, one will be short, and it will not be done with discipline. And devotion would be the mental aspect of this duty, whereby you would be thinking that you are doing it for God, that you are doing it with God in mind. That is the aspect. Duty supported by devotion and discipline. Yes?
I want to describe one hypothetical situation here.
Yes.
Suppose a person witnesses a crime and a wrong person is caught and is being now punished. Now, unless this witness speaks up, the wrong person will get the punishment and the right person will be free. And if he speaks the truth, then one way or the other, one person is hurt. So here is an example where either way he speaks the truth, somebody is going to get hurt.
No, here you are confusing the aspects of dharma. See, I have not dealt with this aspect at all. I haven't touched it, the aspects of dharma. You see, here you have to understand, Baba says that a person who commits a crime, a person who abates a crime, a person who is in the know of the crime, and a person who has encouraged the crime, all four are equally guilty. See? So all four have to receive equal punishment. So that should answer your question. Yes.
Just to tune into constant integrated awareness.
Yes.
This is something that is not so difficult to strive towards that objective when you're in good company, as we are experiencing this weekend. But when you go back to your place of employment in the working world, and you're not necessarily around good company, can you perhaps share more ideas on how to keep your lid on your bucket so that you can make it back to the next good satsang and not find yourself looking like Swiss cheese after a month or two of work?
Yes. Well, I can only relate a small experience which I had when I landed in Detroit. You know, I came through the customs. I wasn't in the company of Sai people there, I can assure you. And as I was waiting for my baggage, I was looking round, and there came this lady, customs, with 2 revolvers sticking out. She's huge, and a personification of the ogress Tataka, which you might have read about in the Ramayana story. She came and said, "Here, let me have a look at your passport." So I dutifully handed it to her. "What have you come here for?" "Oh, I just see some friends and be with some good friends." Now here, there are many foolish questions and aggravating and sort of questions which would prompt you to anger. See, many questions were put like that. But having prepared this talk, see, And having been with Baba and discussed these aspects, see, I wasn't in any mood, see, to depart from it. So I was thinking of the vessel and the contents of the vessel there, see. And that put me in a very good frame of mind, see. So I talked to her with a lot of humor. Now, she was talking out of fear that I had come there and the questions which were being put to me was as if I was going to rob United States of America. See? Well, after about 10 minutes of this interrogation, she didn't get very far, so she signed the papers and said, "You may go there." So I went to another officer. Now, he also started off. But then I thought that, well, now, let me try with a little more love with him. So, I said to myself that now let me love the Atma which is there. And the effect was instantaneous. See? He became very friendly. And he stopped asking all these questions, and he wanted to know what I was and what was I doing in Bombay and so on and so forth. And until the baggage came, all the other people who wanted to go through customs, he was waving them on to other places, you see, and he was wanting to talk with me. See? So this is an example of how one can still be established in it, provided you ignore the form of the person. Then you can be established in it. But if you get taken in by the form and the name, then you will lose it. The awareness will be gone if you are not vigilant. So that's a small example which I thought I would relate.
Fanibunda, you mentioned this evening that Baba has said that if the truth displeases someone or hurts someone, one should not say anything. So, in this type of situation, when one knows that certain things that are going on in a center, for example, or at work or any group activity, that these things are being done incorrectly, mostly out of ignorance. But if one knows that by saying something, the people will get upset or angry, and they may feel that I am trying to overpower them, or things of reactions of that nature. But if I also feel that if I can successfully correct them, it could help a lot of people to become more harmonious, for example. Now, there is a dilemma. Is silence a better choice, or speaking up is a better choice?
Well, there's no dilemma at all. What you have to do is, when such a situation arises, see, what one does is that you speak with love. You see, if you speak with love, there is no reaction to love other than love. It's only when you speak without love that there is a reaction. This is my experience in the organization. And also, you must establish first of all in your mind whether it is your duty to correct that or not. Now, what I used to do in the early days, even when it was not my duty, I used to pipe up in the meetings, you see, and try to correct people. This used to go on for quite a while, and then Baba one day decided to take me in hand. So he said, "You talk too much." So, with an injured air, I looked at him. He said, "Why do you speak so much at meetings?" I said, "Swami, so many wrong things are going on. Should I not point it out?" He said, "See, people are allergic to truth." See? He said, "Don't create allergic reactions." See? This was his way of telling me that don't speak those things which cause hurt to other people. He said, "You are causing a lot of allergic reactions in the organization. Just keep quiet." So I keep quiet. And if one can correct it, if it is one's duty to do so, then it has to be done with a lot of love. Then there is no reaction. You see, as long as there is love, the only reaction to love can only be love. See, there cannot be any other reaction. See, so if love is missing in that communication, then the reaction is different.
Very much similar to Deepak's, but a little bit more added to that. I have an 18-year-old son who is not here, so I'm going to ask you the same question he asked me. He attended an interview for his medical school admission. Then they asked him, suppose you come to know that one of your colleagues or your partner is cheating, what would you do? Then he told him that I think I'm going to talk to him. I'm going to try to tell him what he was doing wrong and it's not good, and then, I try to change him. And then they asked, suppose he didn't, and he continues to cheat, what would you do? Then, so I think he paused for a minute, but then after he came home, he was asking me that I think they are trying to see if I would report him to the higher authority. And I said, would you? And he said, I don't know, if I think about Baba's teachings, he said, help ever, hurt never. And if I bring this up to the higher authority, he might lose his practice. And I'll be causing a lot of harm here. So I don't know what I would be really doing. And do you have an answer?
You see, here again, as I explained to you, the various finer nuances of Dharma are involved in this. And Baba gives an example of this. He said that in your house you have a servant. You also have a son. The servant commits robbery. You want to hand him over to the police. The son commits the same type of robbery. Would you hand him over to the police? Would you? Not what you should. What would you do?
If I follow Baba's teachings, I will.
No. It's the duty of the mother to correct.
You talk to him and you try to see if it helps. But he said he wouldn't. Then he asked me what I would do. I said, I think here we are talking about Dharma. And as a citizen, I think you have a responsibility. And as a good citizen...
As a mother, you have a responsibility first.
Yes, but if it didn't work and if you continue...
Why should it not work? You are the mother.
Mother cannot...
No, it's only if the mother does not accept the responsibility, the mother does not fulfill the responsibility, then it doesn't work. So the first disobedience to Dharma is the mother's. It's because the mother was lax, it's because the mother was not vigilant, it's because the mother did not follow the Dharma of a mother. Therefore the son went astray. So the fault is the mother's, not the son's.
Maybe I agree with you in the beginning, but at this point, if it really happened, and if you are still not able to correct, what would you do?
The law will take its course in due course in any way, because the boy will not stop there. He will go on to bigger things. And the law will catch up with him in any case. See? But the fault lies with the mother. See? Because Dharma is something which is very involved. There are 2-3 different varieties, and one has to be very careful of how you understand Dharma and to interpret it. Yes?
Well, Father, I thought that boys tended to follow the example of their male role models more so than their female role models. That's my impression of what I just
Now, you see, both have to play their role. Baba has said that God governs the universe with love and law. That is, the mother aspect of him governs the universe with love. The father aspect governs the universe with law. So similarly, in a family, the father lays down the law, the mother gives the love. What is accomplished is with love. What is laid down is accomplished with love. Have you understood? Law and love. Father lays down the law, mother gives the love. See? So, that law which is laid down, that discipline which is laid down, is accomplished through the mother's love. Both are involved. It's not just the mother. See, there's nothing which Baba has not given which does not answer the everyday situations in one's life. Yes, any? Yes.
I think you have been talking this morning. Of course, I was not here full time, and I listened to your this afternoon lecture only. You have been talking deep things like Atma, Gayatri Mantra, and senses and all that, which are a little bit, above my level. I'm at the lower level. So I'll ask you the question.
One second. Everything is below the level of the senses. Only the Atma is above.
But the question I'm asking, I think you touched upon the organization. It seems like you were or somebody told me you were the president of Bombay Center also.
Vice chairman, not president.
Whatever, up in the higher level. I think question is coming to my mind is, I think a lot of the presidents, vice president or the organization officers do listen to Baba. Recently there was an order by Baba that everybody should resign. And they did resign. But you see that after a few days we find one got promoted to a new region president, other got such and such seva coordinator and that kind of things. What I'm coming to, that is this human nature to have a lust of power, or is it love for Baba? Why the people do that? Why they want to stay in that kind of organization where they think they are enjoying the power, or they are doing that? I think maybe in their mind or in our mind we are doing seva, but is it sort of power, hunger, or is it love? Could you explain to that from your experience what it is really in human nature?
But you see, you yourself gave the answer. You said that they are following Baba's orders. So if the appointments have been carried out according to Baba's orders and wishes, then where comes the question of the individual getting himself promoted?
What do you say about election process and selection process?
There is no election and selection with Baba, only appointment.
Fanibunda, I have a question to ask you that when we say that the God is within us, every one of us, And at the same time, when we pray, we dedicate our prayer and say to you, and we separate God and us. So I just want to know if God is within us, how we offer that prayer.
Inside.
To inside God?
Hmm.
Okay. Okay. I knew, that's what I thought, but I just thought when we say you, that means it's still...
You inside.
Oh, okay.
See, here we must understand this one thing. We say God is omnipresent. Now when you say that God is omnipresent, see, He is present in each and every place, in each every cell, each and every atom, each and every electron, proton, neutron, anything you like to say. See? Now, if He is omnipresent, all agreed that He is omnipresent? Then tell me, I'm going to ask you a question. What is it that God cannot do? Not you. You see, I discussed it with the children this afternoon.